On Thursday, the 11th of September, people in Scotland will have the opportunity to say whether or not the government's proposals for a Scottish Parliament should go ahead, and, if the Parliament is set up, whether it should have tax-varying powers. Whether you agree with these proposals or not, it's important to use your vote so that the result truly reflects the wishes of the people in Scotland. This short programme outlines the main elements of the government's proposals. A Scottish Parliament would be able to legislate over a wide range of matters which affect Scotland. There would be a Scottish executive headed by a First Minister, which would operate in a similar way to the UK government and will be accountable to the Scottish Parliament. The Secretary of State for Scotland would continue to represent Scottish interests within the UK government. The Scottish Parliament and Executive will be responsible for health, including the National Health Service in Scotland, public and mental health issues. Education and training, including under fives, primary, secondary, further and higher education, as well as training policy and programmes. Local government, including structure and finance, social work, housing policy, and area regeneration. Economic development, including support for Scottish business and industry, the promotion of trade and export, tourism, and many transport matters. Law and order and the legal system, including the criminal justice and prosecution system, the police and the prison service. The environment, including the natural and built heritage, environmental protection matters and issues relating to land and water pollution. Agriculture, fisheries and forestry, including the Scottish Office's existing responsibilities for promoting agriculture and fisheries. Sports and the arts, including the Scottish Sports Council, the Scottish Arts Council and the Scottish institutions. Scotland and her MPs would continue to play a full and constructive part within the UK. The sovereignty of the UK Parliament at Westminster would be unaffected. The Queen would remain head of state. Relations with Europe would remain the responsibility of the UK government, but the Scottish Executive would be closely involved in decisions involving Scottish matters. The UK Parliament would continue to deal with matters which are best dealt with on a UK-wide basis. These include the Constitution of the UK, foreign policy, defence and national security, fiscal, economic and monetary policy, common markets for UK goods and services, employment laws, and social security. The Scottish Parliament would be funded in much the same way as the Scottish Office is presently funded, in that it would receive a budget from the Westminster Parliament. In the current year 1997-98, this is around £14 billion. The Scottish Parliament would be free to determine how this money should be spent, to best meet the needs and priorities of the Scottish people. The Scottish Parliament would have the power to increase or decrease the basic rate of income tax by up to 3 pence. Liability for inclusion in any changes to the tax system would be determined by residency in Scotland. If the Scottish Parliament decided to exercise its tax-varying powers, then the resources available to spend would increase or decrease accordingly. Savings and income from dividends would be unaffected. Edinburgh will be the location of the Scottish Parliament. The building the Parliament occupies would be an important symbol for Scotland and should be of a quality that reflects its status. A range of new and existing sites which offer good value for money and provide a home fit for the Scottish Parliament are currently being considered. One-off costs to set up the Parliament could be between £2 and £8 per head of the Scottish population. Annual running costs of the Parliament would be around £5 a head per year. The Scottish Parliament would have 129 members. 73 would be elected on the normal first-past-the-post system, 1 from each constituency, plus 1 each for Orkney and Shetland. 56 additional members will be elected from party lists to give a more proportional outcome. Elections to the Scottish Parliament would be held every 4 years. The first step is the referendum on September the 11th. At the polling station, you will be handed 2 pieces of paper. One asks you if you agree or do not agree that there should be a Scottish Parliament. The second asks if you agree or do not agree that a Scottish Parliament should have tax-varying powers. If the majority of those who vote are in favour of these proposals, the government will bring forward legislation to set up the Scottish Parliament. The target is for elections to the Scottish Parliament to be held in the first half of 1999, and for Scotland's Parliament to assume its full responsibilities in the year 2000. But it's up to you, the voters of Scotland, to decide whether or not you want a Parliament with tax-varying powers. Whatever your views on these proposals, your vote does make a difference. The time has come for you to decide. Use your vote on September the 11th.